All right, this is a rather long quote that we're going to start with today, but I couldn't break it down because I liked every bit of it. So, the spiritual freedom we seek cannot be found by grasping at, retreating to, or protecting our perceived safe spaces. Our freedom lies in remaining open continuously, not only to life's changes, but also to the divine light within us and others. This is our choice. Although often perceived as a weakness, being open and surrendering to the experience of the present moment is our greatest strength. By authentically living life in the now, we submit to divine guidance, where we find the freedom to see everything equally and sacred in truth. So welcome everybody to Module 4, Week 15. Week 15, there's only 16 weeks. It's Week 15, Creating Avenues for Grieving, Part 4. We're going to start out by lighting our container for grief, or lighting our candle and creating a container for grief. And symbolism is very helpful. I know it's helpful for me. I hope it's helpful for you to picture this container for grief that we are creating, to picture this thing that we cannot see because it's an energetic force. And by lighting the candle, we're making it seen, and we're spreading out that vibration from the candle light so that we're imagining that we're connecting together to create this container for grief. And this becomes an energetic space that is a safe to be brave space, a safe to allow the parts of ourselves that are grieving to come out and to be seen and heard, or to at least rest in this container that we're symbolically and energetically creating. So we're going to start with a tuning in today. Jonas is going to do that for us in just a moment. Thank you, Jonas. We'll do a check-in about this past week and any of the materials that people have been using and how that's working for you. And then we'll dive into today's material. And I just always want to say that we're bringing love in, because this is all about a different way of being together, a loving and compassionate way of being together. We are experimenting with bringing that out in ourselves and each other and allowing for that. So, Jonas, would you please tune us in?
I would be delighted. So I invite you, as always, to make yourself comfortable, find a position that works for you, and I'm going to do the same. And I invite you to close your eyes and relax. Now completely fill your lungs as you take a deep breath in and breathe out. Relax your body, relax your mind, relax your spirit. Wherever you become aware of tension or stray thoughts, simply acknowledge them with love and kindness, and then put it down. You are invited to put it down and let it go. Remember that there is nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to see, nothing more to be. Only this, only now, only us, only you. You are exactly where you are, and all that you are is relaxed. As you continue to breathe in and out, I invite you to remember where you are in this universe, in this galaxy, in this solar system, on this particular planet, in this region, in this building, in this room, in this body, in this awareness, connected with one another. Remember where you are, wherever you are, that it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, that even when it seems the sky is falling, it's still a beautiful day, because the griefs we encounter are opportunities for change, moving us to repurpose that embodied experience for others. Remember how after every flood, all the colors come out. Remember that what you have, you don't need it now. What you don't know, you can feel it somehow and can share that experience with others. It's a beautiful day, and you need not let it get away, so long as you remember where you are. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do, no one to see, nothing more to be, only this, only us, only you, and all that you are is relaxed, centered, tuned in, and ready. With heart wide open, you are seen and you are welcome. So when you're ready, you're invited to open your eyes.
Thank you, Jonas. Stop the share and pause the recording. Breathe. Take some time to feel your physical body in this space and move it a little bit, because our physical body does not want to sit for too long. And we are going to be sitting and doing some writing, so take a little time to move and groove right now. And while you're doing that, I'll just talk about what we're going to be doing. So we're going to do a little review about how trauma becomes culture and how we can build a culture of resilience and flow, and talk a little bit about culture. What is culture? How can we move towards systemic change through cultural change? And we want to think about what kind of culture we want to create. So creating a compassionate culture for healing and grief. I want to remind everybody to take eye breaks. Look away from the screen or close your eyes for about 20 seconds at a time whenever you think about it, or at least maybe every 20 minutes. And I'm just going to read a little bit. You can still be moving and getting synovial fluid in your body to be released so it feels more comfortable to be in your physical body, more juicy. Over months or years, unhealed trauma can become part of someone's personality. As it's passed on and compounded through other bodies, it often becomes the family norm. If it gets transmitted and compounded through multiple families and generations, it can turn into culture. Give bodies the right context and encouragement, and they will begin to harmonize as well as settle. when, over time, enough bodies heal from historical, intergenerational, and personal trauma and learn to harmonize with each other, that harmony can turn into a culture of resilience and flow. Culture is how our bodies retain and reenact history through
the foods we eat or refuse to eat.
Richard, you're orange.
And the stories that we tell. Okay.
Things that hold meaning for us. Kat?
The images that move us.
What we are able and unable to sense or feel or process.
The way we see the world.
And 1,000 other aspects of life. If enough people do the same thing over and over, or if they share something with each other enough times, eventually it becomes culture. So I think what I'm trying to get at is this, all these kind of different ways of doing things over and over, and when we share them together, that becomes culture, right? Or this is Resma Menakem's words, and that's what he's trying to get at. What is culture?
If I may share, I heard an interesting quote around this, and it was from the author John Maxwell. He said, "Culture eats vision for lunch." And what he meant by that, I believe, from what he talked later about it, was that it doesn't matter what the vision is. It doesn't matter what we want to do. It's what are we actually doing? What are the people, the society, whether it's at a small family level, individual level, or organization, community, country, world, what are we actually doing? And to your point, exactly, it's all of these things. And if enough people are doing these things, well, that's the culture.
Yeah, thank you. So we have our colors. Can we do this one together? Essential aspects of creating or changing culture.
Develop and uplift elders and eldership to provide mentoring and guidance for the next generation.
Create, tell, pass on new stories, narratives of resilience, compassion, achievement, and transformation.
Be consistent. Use repetition. Create body-centered rituals and practices that promote self-care and collective wellness, and pass these on to our children.
Slow down and settle, giving more energy to love, compassion, and regard.
Nurture individual and collective willingness to be in our bodies, accept and metabolize clean pain, and heal.
Lead and follow by example, model the way for others.
All right, I want to remind you, if you want to stand up, breathe, stretch, take an eye break. You don't have to look at the screen right now. In fact, maybe you could close your eyes because we're going to do a little imagery, guided imagery. So to create a compassionate culture of healing and grieving, first we have to imagine it. And I know for me, I need help imagining something that we don't have yet. So maybe you do too. And I'm going to lead you through this little guided imagery and see if this is helpful. So if you can close your eyes and imagine that there is an ideal, realistic future, and there's a compassionate council that is meeting right now. They're sitting together. They're in council. And they've already got it down. They know how to deal with stress, trauma, loss, and grief. They are compassionate, a compassionate society, an equitable society. They figured it out. They are there. So imagine that you're sitting with this council and they're telling you what their lifestyle looks like, how it works, how they relate to each other and to animals and to nature and to source, how they deal with stress, trauma, loss, and grief. And they want to tell you what's working well, how it's working. Just imagine that. And when you're ready, when you have that image or those words or something that came out of this experience of being with the council, open your eyes and open up your journal and describe the vision that you just saw of the realistic ideal future. If we go back to the council and we listen to them looking back at us, they're looking back at us, and what do they say about us now? Looking back, they can see the steps that it took to get from where we are to where they are. And maybe we could ask them to tell us what those steps are. So as you're doing this, you could also ask the council if they have a suggestion for what we could do now. What's the next first step? And when you get something, you could list that, write that down in your journal. What's the first step? And if possible, break it down even further. When you've broken that first step down, try and pick out one thing that's the simplest part of that to accomplish. And then write how you can do that first thing, when you will do it. Get very specific. If you need to do it with others, who you'd like to do it with. So we're going to take a little time now to come back to our group discussion and talk about what is the vision that we got of that realistic ideal future for all. What's the first simplest step that we could accomplish? How, where, when we're going to complete this, and who we'll share or collaborate with. So I'm going to stop the recording. And I love that we are all in this space together, and we've shared bits and pieces that we've drawn on and pulled together. And, some is personal, some is bigger and wider, some is sharing with people who we're not sure how that's going to work out. But I think keep coming back. Just my advice for myself that I'll share out loud is keep coming back to the self, keep coming back to the self. While we're with each other, keep coming back to the self. While we're reaching out to try and communicate with people who we haven't been able to, keep coming back to the self. Why am I feeling this way right now? Keep coming back to that. Keep coming back to our own internal stories and subpersonalities and etc. Yeah. I love you guys so much. So, yeah, why don't we all unmute and just say every loving thing you want to each other?
I love you guys
Love
also.
it. So happy to be in this group.
Blessings and love to you all.
Jonas, me, Remy,
Remy, I
Richard,
love you.
Ali,
Yummy.
so glad that all of you are
Jonas.
here. It's wonderful.
Yummy.
Thank you.
This
Lots
is
of love to all of
fantastic.
us, and
Yummy.
lots
I
of love
feel
to
so
Nancy.
close to
Great
you.
ideas.
Yes, Nancy as well,
Love you,
and everyone
Nancy.
else. And
Yeah.
thank you, everyone.
Encouraging.
Thank
Shout
you.
out. Have a beautiful day.